It's been recorded that in 31 states and the FCT, more than 1.4 million people have been affected, and about 500 deaths recorded. And it does appear that the rains are not going to stop anytime soon. What's been your reading about this devastating effect it's having on people?
Thank you once again, Ibrahim, for this opportunity. Yes, 1.4 million people being impacted at the moment. Before now, this is not, I will always say, like a surprise to me and to other people who know about this event. Before now, United Nations High Commissioner for Refugee have warned that about 216 million people will be forced to move their homes or their countries before the middle of the century. And of course, we are seeing this happening now in immediate communities in Nigeria. It is really unfortunate. It comes, as I always say, like a predictable surprise because these things were mentioned. We knew that these communities and villages and towns will be flooded, and unfortunately, we watched that happen, which means that somewhere along the line, something is not being done correctly to ensure that we could at least reduce the level of impact that has been reeled out by the commissioner.
Mhm. Well, we know that this is actually taking a toll on the economy of the nation and also affected some farm produce as well as the maybe. Are you not afraid, yeah, are you not afraid whether these might lead to some sort of food insecurity?
I am absolutely. I am afraid, like every other person. At the moment, food inflation is about 23%, when that is before the flood. Then we look at not just about food, look at unemployment rate at 33%. What is it? What is going to happen in the future with respect to this flood that has covered the vast majority, or I should say, the vast land, and including mostly farmlands across the country? So every right-thinking person should be scared that, of course, we're going to have food, the problem of food security in the country, and not just within the country and any other neighboring country that initially would depend on Nigeria for food. Then the import of this, if we are going to look at imports, we know that there is a problem around the supply chain of grains coming to Nigeria, and this flood and other related disasters are not just about Nigeria, they're happening in different places. So I am scared, and every other person that is involved in, or stakeholder that is involved in disaster management, should be scared and begin to plan
Mm.
adequately on how we are going to deal with issue of food insecurity. Not just food, again, look at water, because we are going to have much water, but then we don't have water to use. That is also a major problem and thing of concern for that stakeholders need to take into consideration.
Yeah. Well, the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development says it actually plans to adopt the recently approved National Flood Emergency Preparedness and Response Plan to mitigate the effect of flood disaster. Looking at how we prepare, in order to forestall some of these issues, some of these challenges that we face in the country in different ramifications. How far-reaching do you think this plan will go?
Well, it depends on, thank you for that question. It depends on their seriousness. I will argue that, look, this is not happening because we do not know that it's going to happen. Okay. They argue that, of course, there has been communication between the stakeholders, for instance, NIMET or NISA, the Hydrological Agency, the Ministry of Humanitarian Services. All of these people are aware. They've held meetings with stakeholders at various states and possibly local government. Then why are we having this impact? It means that that chain of communication and response need to be strengthened, so that at any point along the chain where that is broken and leading to this impact, then that gap need to be filled. Then holistically, that will happen. Now, in the long run, what are we looking at in terms of responding or in terms of adapting to this? Because we think that this will continue and the coverage will also be exacerbated. What are we going to do in the long run? Look, people need to begin to look at ways to which we can respond to these flood issues more accurately, sustainably, without having, with minimal impact. I'll give you some examples if you have time for me to do that. we need to communicate this information. Farmers now need to review farming practices across the country if we are looking at food security as a case. Yeah. So that means that we need to look at the seasons when we need to farm. We need to look at the seasons when we need to move away from the farmlands or harvest our crop before this flood comes.
Well, Senior Consultant, Climate Change, Impact and Adaptation, Atkins Global, Dr. Justin Udie, thank you so much for your insight.
Thank you. You are most welcome.